Thanks for tuning in to the Diaphragm Dynasty. I'm back with another Behind the Mic edition of my podcast. And behind the mic today, we will have Maxwell. Now, Maxwell is one of my favorite vocalists of all time. I want to say he's my favorite vocalist, but I would have to, do some deep diving into that to think about all the vocalists that I've known. But vocalists during my time, he's definitely my favorite vocalist, just from the sheer ability of his range, being able to sing very highly and sing very low. He has that range and that ability, that natural God given talent that without the synthesizers and all these different things that people use today, he has such an incredible voice and incredible songs as well. But spanning all the way back to the 90s and up until, probably 2016. It's been a while since he released a project, but anytime he releases music, I'm looking forward to it just because he has such an amazing voice, and he um, makes you respect the craft so much just because he's heavily invested into his music and really is a student of the game. Now he has a smooth voice, and we talked about the range already, but he's very soft spoken and insightful as well. So one of his favorite performances was the VH1 Storytellers, which I wish they still had around now because it gives you a glimpse into the artist. It gives you another perspective and, see the artist in a different light. It humanizes the artist to where you see behind the scenes when they make these songs and when they've went through difficult times in their lives to where these songs came out, and it gives you more perspective or insight um, inside look into what the artist relationship to the song is, because a lot of times we get the songs but we don't know the true story of why they made that song or who wrote it for them at the time, what they were going through, and just their mindset at that time, the way they attacked the song. So it gives you that relationship with the artist that you normally wouldn't get even from a concert, or you're basically getting a documentary with a live performance, which is a great thing that people had. I think Taylor Swift had one back in the day. I know Kanye had one. Um, I want to say David Bowie or somebody else had one as well. A lot of different artists had these storytellers back in the day, but um, Maxwell's was my favorite off the ones I've seen. But he just gave you inside look after song. And the only thing I didn't like about this performance is he didn't perform This Woman's Work, which I'll get into a little bit. Um, but nevertheless, great performance. If you haven't checked out the VH1 Storytellers from Maxwell, it's very difficult to get. I found it through some random website, but it's not really on any streams or anything right now. But just getting back to Maxwell, um, we talked about the range and we talked about his voice, but we didn't talk about the hits. So as far as hits wise, Fortunate was probably his most commercially successful song, which was on the Life soundtrack with from the movie Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. So that song was, I believe, written by R. Kelly as well, but great song. But it's not my favorite from him, of course. This Woman's Worth is my favorite song from Maxwell. Uh, that's one of the greatest songs I believe of all time, as far as an R&B perspective. Um, This Woman's Work was also a cover song from Kate, originally by Kate Bush, but Maxwell version of the song was so much better in my opinion because it was he had put a lot of soul into it, and he put a lot of falsettos, and we don't talk about the falsetto enough because I want to say he had one of the greatest falsettos, of course, next to Usher, and you want to put him next to Marvin Gaye. These guys had amazing falsettos that didn't even sound like them to the degree. So, especially coming from a tenor, their falsettos was next level. Pretty Wings, he did so much of the same on that song as well with the falsetto. But a beautiful song, a song that you really don't know the meaning to, but it was such a beautiful song. You have to sing along to it. Whenever, wherever, whatever. We know what that song did on the Urban Sweep, Maxwell's Urban Sweep album, one of his best albums. Lifetime, another great song as well. So he had hits. He's very he's not talked about enough in R&B circles or in pop circles because like I said, he's very soft spoken. He's very introverted. It feels like, but from that storytellers, he showed that he had a comical side to himself, and he actually didn't take himself too serious. But if you seen him from the outside looking in, you would think he's one of these artists that took himself too serious. But he seems like to be, has a good personality. He just doesn't show it enough. He's not out there enough. He doesn't put himself out there to the masses enough. And he was one of the earlier artists to do this. But I talked about, that, but his classic album that put him, I guess, solidified him, I want to say, because he never really made it over to the pop world. But the song that solidified him as an artist, I want to say, is that Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite. That album it was pretty much like a greatest hits of his songs because he had so many great songs on that album. And if you haven't heard that album, you definitely got to check it out. I'll probably have to cover it eventually because it's such a great of an album. It's one of those ones that you can put on cassette tape and don't have to worry about skipping it. But just to run through some of the songs, Till the Cops Come Knocking, Whenever, Whatever, Whatever, Ascension, Something Something, another one of his underrated songs. Like I talked about, just the greatest hits of songs that he had. And I believe him just being more introverted kind of stopped him from being a bigger artist because with the voice that he had and the style that he had and the look that he had, he was able to he should have been way more successful than what he was. But I believe he made, great money doing what he did and the niche that he carved out. But for the vocal range and for the style that he had and just the grace that he had, I think he should have been a lot more successful. But usually when you're more reserved, you don't get the looks as more, as other people, especially as a male R&B artist. They want you to be, you know, just have all this sex appeal and have all these shirtless album covers and things like that. But he didn't do that. He was more buttoned up, no pun intended. But just Maxwell, if you haven't heard his music, definitely check it out. He hasn't been active. He hasn't put out a project since 2016. But when he does put a project out, I'll be looking for it because he's just that great of an artist. But, check out Maxwell. And until next time, I'll see you next time.